Chosen one, I need to show you something you have never been shown before. Not a promise, not an encouragement, a revelation. There is a pattern hidden inside your story, a pattern so precise, so deliberate, so unmistakably intentional that once I show it to you, you will never be able to look at your past the same way again. And I mean that, not as motivation, as fact. What I am about to share is going to reframe everything. The betrayals, the losses, the doors that closed, the people who left, the people who stayed and hurt you anyway, the plans that collapsed, the relationships that ended wrong. All of it. Every part of your story that you have classified as a wound is about to be reclassified, not minimized, not explained away, not dressed up in language that makes it sound less painful than it was, reclassified. Given a different category, a different function in the larger story, a different meaning that does not erase the pain, but makes the pain make sense in a way it has never fully made sense before. Stay with me, because the part of this message that lands hardest for you personally is coming later, and you need the foundation before it arrives. There is a man in Scripture whose story I want to walk through with you tonight. Not because his story is inspirational, because his story is a map, and the map matches your life more precisely than you are going to be comfortable with. His name was Joseph. And before you close, because you have heard the Joseph story, before I need you to understand that you have never heard it the way I am about to tell it. Because most people tell the Joseph story as a story about endurance, about how Joseph suffered and stayed faithful, and eventually things got better. That is the surface reading. The deep reading is something completely different. The deep reading is about how every single person who wronged Joseph was, without knowing it, moving him exactly where he needed to go. Let that sit for a moment. The brothers who threw him in the pit, the Ishmaelite traders who purchased him as a slave, Potiphar's wife who lied about him and had him imprisoned, the cupbearer who forgot about him for 2 years after Joseph interpreted his dream. Every single one of them thought they were making a choice that served themselves. Not one of them knew they were serving Joseph's destiny. Not one. The brothers thought they were removing a threat. They were booking his transportation to Egypt. The Ishmaelite traders thought they were making a profitable trade. They were the logistics company moving Joseph from Canaan to the palace corridor. Potiphar's wife thought she was getting revenge. She was placing him in the exact location where he would meet Pharaoh's officials, the very people who would one day stand in the room when Pharaoh needed someone who could interpret a dream. The cupbearer thought he simply forgot. 2 years of forgetting meant 2 years of preparation in prison, 2 years that gave Joseph the wisdom and character he would need to manage not just a household, not just a prison, but an entire nation during a global crisis. The timing was not coincidental. The players were not random. The wounds were not accidents. Every person who hurt Joseph was unknowingly a carrier, a vehicle, an instrument in a plan they knew nothing about and would never have chosen to be part of if they had understood what they were doing. Now I need you to look at your own life through this lens, because what was true for Joseph is a principle, not a one-time occurrence. A principle, and principles repeat. Think about the person who betrayed you, the one who took what was yours, who said what they said, did what they did, left the way they left. In the moment, it was damage. In the moment, it was loss. In the moment, it was one of the most painful things that ever happened to you. But what if, and I need you to really follow me here, what if that person had no idea that in the act of hurting you, they were closing a door that needed to close so a different door could open? What if the relationship that ended was ending because the chapter it belonged to was complete, and you would not have walked away from it on your own? So heaven used the implosion of the relationship itself to move you out of a place you had outgrown. What if the job you lost was a job that would have cost you the years you needed to develop the thing that is actually your assignment? What if the person who underestimated you, who dismissed you, doubted you, told you that you were not enough, was unknowingly activating something in you that comfort would never have activated? Because comfort does not build the kind of person your calling requires. Pain does, resistance does. Being underestimated and then having no choice but to prove in private what you could not prove in public, that does. Every Joseph needs a pit, not because God is cruel, but because there are things that can only be learned going down. Humility is one of them. Dependence on God rather than on people is another. The ability to lead others through suffering which requires having suffered yourself is a third. You cannot develop those things on a mountaintop. They are developed in the pit. They are refined in the prison. They are completed in the waiting room of someone else's palace, where you have more than enough reason to be bitter, but you choose every day not to be. That choosing is not small. That choosing is building something in you that cannot be built any other way. I want to slow down here and speak about something that rarely gets addressed in the Joseph story, the pit itself. When Joseph was thrown into the pit by his brothers, the text tells us something small that carries enormous weight. It says, the pit was empty. There was no water in it. That detail sounds like a footnote. It is not a footnote. In that region, a dry pit was used for temporary imprisonment. A pit with water in it would have meant immediate death. The brothers intended harm, but the conditions of the pit were not conditions that would kill him, which means even in the moment of the betrayal, even in the act of his brothers choosing violence, the circumstances were arranged so that Joseph would survive it. The harm was real. The pain was real. The cries from the bottom of that cistern while his brothers sat above him eating a meal that was real, but the pit was dry. Because even in the worst moment of Joseph's life, there was a hand managing the variables that his brothers were not managing. They chose cruelty, but they did not choose the pit's contents. They did not choose the Ishmaelites who would pass by at exactly the right moment. They did not choose Egypt as the destination. They did not choose Potiphar as the buyer. They made one choice. Everything else was being arranged around their choice by something that knew what it was doing. I want you to think about the worst moment of your own story. The moment that felt most like the bottom. The moment where you were most certain that what was happening was going to destroy you. Was the pit dry? Look carefully. Not at the pain. The pain was real. I am not minimizing it. Look at the variables that were outside the control of the person causing the harm. The fact that you survived it, the fact that something, somewhere in the circumstance, was arranged in a way they did not arrange. The fact that you are here tonight, which means the worst moment did not finish the story. The pit was dry. It was always dry because there was a hand managing what the people who hurt you were not capable of managing. Now I want to go deeper into the prison, because the prison is the part of Joseph's story that I think speaks most directly to where many of you currently are. Joseph was in the prison for years, not weeks, not months. Years. And during those years, he did something that most people would not have done. He kept serving. The text says that the keeper of the prison put all the prisoners in Joseph's charge. That Joseph became responsible for everything done in the prison. Joseph did not go underground in the prison. He did not become bitter and invisible. He kept using his gift, He kept serving. He kept showing up in the place. He was as if the place he was deserved. His full attention and his full capacity. And here is why that matters for your life. The gift you carry does not become dormant because the context is difficult. The gift functions in the pit. The gift functions in the prison. The gift functions in the places that do not look like where you were supposed to end up, because those places are part of the path to where you are supposed to end up. And the people you serve in the pit and the prison are not people you are serving by accident: the cupbearer, the baker, the fellow prisoners who needed someone with Joseph's particular ability to interpret dreams. They were not random, they were placed. Specifically placed in Joseph's path at the moment when Joseph's gift was needed and when their presence was necessary for the chain of events that would eventually reach Pharaoh. Look at the people who have needed what you carried during your difficult seasons, the conversations you had, the people you helped. The moments where your experience of going through something hard gave you something to offer someone else who was going through the same thing. Those were not coincidences. Those were the prison assignments. The connections that were building the chain that would eventually reach the palace. Now I want to say something about the waiting, because in between the prison and the palace there was a gap. The cupbearer was released. Joseph asked him to remember him before Pharaoh. The cupbearer forgot. 2 years passed, 2 more years of waiting, after what had already been years of waiting. 2 more years after Joseph had done everything right, interpreted the dream correctly, asked for nothing more than to be remembered, and still waited. This is the part of the story where most people, if they were honest, would have stopped believing. Because this is the part of waiting that feels least like preparation and most like abandonment. When you have done everything right, when you have used your gift faithfully, when you have served others, when you could have been bitter, when you ask for one small thing, not even the palace, just to be remembered, just for one person to mention your name, and even that did not happen on time. I want to ask you something. Are you in the 2-year gap? The place between the moment you did everything right and the moment the door finally opens, where you know you are ready, where you know the gift is there, where you know the assignment is real, but the door that should have opened by now has not opened yet. If you are in that gap, I want to tell you what I believe about it. The 2 years were not wasted. The 2 years the cupbearer forgot were 2 years of continued preparation in the prison. 2 years of additional character, 2 years of depth that would make the difference between a Joseph who could manage a household and a Joseph who could manage a nation. If the cupbearer had remembered on time, Joseph would have been released earlier, and earlier may not have been the right time. Not because God was withholding, because the assignment required a Joseph who had been in the prison that long. A Joseph whose patience had been tested at that depth. A Joseph whose trust was not contingent on the timeline working out the way Joseph had hoped it would work out. The 2 years were the final stage of preparation, and the moment they were complete, the moment Joseph had become exactly who the assignment required, Pharaoh had a dream. Not before, not after, the exact day the preparation was complete. Pharaoh had a dream, and the cupbearer remembered. I will tell you how I know, because you are still here. If the pit had been your end, you would not be here. If the prison had been your final address, you would not be here. If the waiting had been indefinite rather than purposeful, something inside you would have gone quiet by now. That particular quality of not quite giving up that has characterized your faith throughout this season, it would have faded. But it has not faded. And the reason it has not faded is that you were not built to be a prisoner. You were built for the palace, and something in you knows it. Even when everything around you has looked nothing like a palace. Even when the evidence has all pointed in the opposite direction. Something in you has kept that knowing alive. That knowing is not wishful thinking. That knowing is the calling recognizing itself, and the calling never mistook its address. Here is what most people miss in the Joseph story. The transition from prison to palace was not gradual. It was a single day. One morning Joseph was in prison. That same afternoon he was standing before Pharaoh. That same evening he was second in command over all of Egypt. There was no transition period, no gradual rebuilding of reputation, no slow reintroduction to society, no years of proving himself on a smaller platform before he was given a larger one. One day, from prison to palace, from forgotten to elevated, from invisible to second in the kingdom. And the reason it happened in a single day is because the preparation had already been completed in the years that came before. Joseph was not promoted and then prepared. He was prepared and then promoted. The groundwork had already been laid. Everything that needed to be built in Joseph had been built. The character was there, the humility was there, the gift was there, the wisdom was there, the capacity to manage something large without losing himself in the process that was there. He was ready, and the moment he was ready, heaven moved on his behalf with a speed that bypassed every human system, every normal process, every expected timeline. I want to ask you something directly. What if your preparation is finished? What if the years of difficulty, the pit seasons, the prison seasons, the 2-year gaps where you did everything right, and the door still did not open? What if those were not ongoing punishment, but completed preparation? What if heaven has been looking at you and saying, they are ready? Everything that needed to be built in them has been built. The character is there, the humility is there. The gift is operating even in conditions that have given it every reason to shut down. The capacity is there. What are we waiting for? And the answer is nothing. Heaven is not waiting for you to become more. Heaven is not holding your promotion hostage to some additional achievement you have not yet figured out how to complete. The preparation is finished. The promotion is ready, and what comes next can come quickly, the way these things always come when the preparation is complete. But before I describe the palace, I need to tell you something about what the palace actually is, because I think there is a version of the palace that we have been picturing that does not fully match what Joseph actually received. The palace was not rest. The palace was not comfort. The palace was not a reward for surviving the pit in the form of a life that would finally be easy. The palace was the place where Joseph's preparation met the need it was always being prepared to meet. There was a famine coming, a 7-year famine that would affect the entire known world. People would die without someone in position who had the wisdom to see it coming. The character to manage the preparation without corruption, and the experience of scarcity personal, lived, not theoretical, that would allow him to steward resources with the kind of care that only comes from someone who once had none. Pharaoh did not need a comfortable man. He needed a refined one. He did not need someone whose faith had been tested in easy conditions. He needed someone whose faith had survived the pit and the prison. He did not need someone who was good at managing abundance because they had always had abundance. He needed someone who understood what it was to have nothing, to serve faithfully anyway, to dream in the dark, to believe in the assignment even when the assignment was invisible. That man was not available in the palace. That man could only be produced by the pit. And chosen one, I want you to hear this clearly. The thing that is coming to you is not coming to give you an easy life. It is coming to put you in position for the assignment your preparation was always building toward. The elevation is real. The provision is real. The doors opening are real, but the reason they are opening is not so you can rest. It is so you can serve with the full weight of everything you became in the places that hurt. The famine is coming in someone else's life. And you are the Joseph who has been in preparation for the moment when they need someone who has been exactly where they are. Someone who will not offer easy answers because they know what easy answers sound like when you are at the bottom and they do not reach you. Someone who will not minimize the pit because they have been in it. Someone who, from the other side of the understanding, can sit with another person in their worst season and offer something no palace-born person can offer. The presence of someone who survived the same dark and came out the other side, knowing that the hand was there the whole time. That is the palace. That is the assignment. That is what the preparation was for. And you are ready for it. Now let me tell you about the reunion. Because this is the part of the Joseph story that carries the deepest weight of prophecy for your life. When Joseph's brothers came to Egypt hungry, desperate, not recognizing the man standing in front of them, Joseph recognized them immediately, and Joseph wept. Not in front of them initially. He had to excuse himself and go to a private room, because the weight of the moment was too much for even a composed man to carry in public. He wept because he understood something his brothers did not yet understand. He understood the full arc. He could see from the pit all the way to the palace. He could see every step, every person, every heartbreak, and he could trace the hand of God through all of it. And that view, the view from the other side, was overwhelming. Not just emotionally, theologically. Because when you can see the hand of God in the places where all you felt was abandonment, that is not just relief. That is the kind of faith that cannot be manufactured. The kind that can only be produced by having been in the dark and having God show you afterward that He was there. That moment of seeing the full arc is coming for you, not just the breakthrough, not just the restoration, but the moment of clarity where you see your own story from above, where you trace the hand that was invisible and find it in every place you thought you were alone. Every pit, every prison, every 2-year gap, every person who hurt you and did not know they were serving something larger than themselves. You will see the hand in all of it. And when you see it, and I say when, not if you will weep. Not from grief, from the weight of understanding, from the recognition of a faithfulness so specific and so complete that the only response it produces is tears that feel nothing like the tears that came before. These will be different tears, the kind that feel like arrival, like coming home to an understanding you were always moving toward even when you did not know it. And you will say the way Joseph said, the way everyone says who makes it to the other side, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. I want to speak now about what that reunion requires of you tonight, because there is something you are being invited to do that is harder than anything else I have said in this message. You are being invited to begin the process of releasing the people who were instruments in your pain, not for their sake, not because what they did was acceptable, not because the wound was not real. For the sake of the hands you need to have free for what is coming. Joseph, before he revealed himself to his brothers, had to choose whether to carry the weight of what they had done or to carry the weight of what he was about to receive. He could not carry both, not because forgiveness erases the past, because the past, when carried into the future, becomes a tax on everything you receive. Every resource that comes into a hand, clenched around an old wound, has to fight to get in. Every blessing that arrives has to navigate the weight of what is already being held. The hands need to be open, not empty. Open, ready to receive without the grip of what was. And opening the hands, beginning the process of releasing the people who were unwitting carriers of your transportation, is not a single moment. It is a decision made once and then remade, sometimes daily, until the weight is gone. You do not have to feel it yet. You just have to decide it. The decision comes first. The feeling follows the decision, and the palace follows both. Say this with me out loud. Right now, what was sent to destroy me was used to develop me. The people who moved against me were moving me forward without knowing it. Every closed door was direction. Every betrayal was transportation. Every pit had a purpose. Every prison had an assignment. Every 2-year gap was final preparation for a single-day promotion. I release what happened. I release who did it. I release the weight I was never meant to carry into this next season. I declare that I am not defined by the pit. I am not addressed by the prison. I am not identified by the waiting. I am the Joseph of my story. The one who served faithfully in the difficult places, the one who kept using the gift when there was no visible reason to, the one who did not become bitter when becoming bitter would have been the easiest thing. I step forward, prepared, positioned, ready for the palace, ready for the assignment, ready for the day when everything that was used against me becomes the testimony that serves someone else's survival. In Jesus' name, amen, chosen one. If this word found you at the right moment, if something in your spirit confirmed what was spoken, leave a comment below with the words, "I was being carried," because you were, even when it did not feel like it. Especially when it did not feel like it. You were never being abandoned, you were being transported. And the destination is about to become visible. Subscribe so you are here when the next word comes. The next message will speak to what the palace looks like, not just as arrival, but as responsibility. Because what Joseph received on that single day was not just elevation. It was assignment. And your assignment is coming with your elevation. Share this with the person who came to your mind during this message. The one who has been in the pit or the prison and has not yet been able to see it as transportation. They need someone to tell them what you just heard. Be Joseph to them tonight. Be the one who, from the other side of the understanding, turns around and says, "You were never abandoned. You were being carried. And the hand that was carrying you knew exactly where you were going." Go now, chosen one. Go in the understanding that changes everything. The people who hurt you were not the authors of your story. They were characters in it. Characters who delivered you without knowing it to the person you needed to become and the place you needed to be. The pit was not the end. The prison was not the address. The 2-year gap was the final preparation, and the preparation is complete. Pharaoh is about to have a dream, and when he does, when the moment comes, that requires exactly who you have become, through exactly what you have been through, the cupbearer will remember, the door will open. Not gradually, on a single day. And it will open in a way that bypasses every human system, every normal process, every expected timeline. Because what is opening is not the result of your effort. It is the result of the preparation being complete and heaven, moving with the speed that always follows completion. You are being carried, every step of it. And the carrying is not over. It is arriving. Amen.